No pun intended, episode 22. Thank you everyone for joining us. I don't know how we're going to follow last week's episode. That was a doozy. Already our number two episode out of 21, and it's only been out a week. A lot of them have a long tail and keep getting views. So that one is destined for great things. Very excited for what's going to come of that podcast. But now we are going through Chicago from a different perspective. Matt was also playing in this tournament. I think we mentioned on it last week. How is it going, Matt? How you doing?
Good. Thanks, Jesse. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing well. I was telling Matt before we came on, I am coaching T-ball, so my voice is a little shot. I've been like shouting. It was really windy tonight, and so I just had to like yell really loud for like an hour straight. But day one was a success. It was fun. Always fun to see the kids out there running around. Um,
Um, did you get any rain when you were out there? Because it was kind of storming quick and then passed over.
Yeah, our section was 6 to 7, and we went over by like 2 minutes. And at about 7:03, it started pouring, and so
Oh,
the people behind us got rained out, but we finished the whole game, so we're lucky.
good, good.
Yeah. All right. So how are you feeling back from Chicago, back home? You've been back about a week now. Overall, how do you feel about the tournament? We'll go through each game kind of one by one here in a little bit.
So I did my usual sort of score slash maybe lose 10 rating points. Um, but overall, I felt really good with the tournament. We'll talk a little bit about sort of the chess psychology and my mindset. And I had an email about that recently on the email list. But yeah, overall, I feel very positive about it. It's always fun to go out there, and I think I have some good takeaways for my chess too for the next tournament.
Yeah, that's good. And I know that you went into this tournament wanting to do a lot of prep, wanting to like pull out some opening novelty, some really strange off the beat stuff that's probably not great but fun to play. But you just kind of didn't have time for it and you just went in winging it basically. Is that right?
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say it was that I didn't have time for it. I just didn't want to prioritize working a lot on my chess. So it was kind of an interesting experiment, right? If I, like Justin said to me recently, like, oh, I saw your chess.com account didn't have any games since I think it's like August of last year or something.
Jeez.
Like he's like, "Oh, are you playing on an alt account?" And I was like, "No, that's when I've last played Blitz. I think is whatever you see on the Smarter Chess account, and I'm rarely playing over the board. So I play almost zero chess, like kind of going into it fresh. And at first I thought, I'll be doing the modern course and I'll like really perfect my modern defense and I'll unleash it on all my opponents and maybe I'll play G3 as white or, some surprise weapons like you said. But really, none of my opponents were super prepped for what I was going to do. And
Hmm.
each game, I just sort of mixed it up a little bit and went by how I felt heading into the game.
So do you have each of your opponents like in front of you so you can talk through the game sort of?
Yeah,
Or
you
can you
mean the score sheets?
yeah, or at least just like how each game went so we can go through them?
Yeah, yep,
Okay, cool. So we're gonna maybe show one of your games. We have the scene set up for it. So sorry for audio only listeners. That section may be a little boring, but we are going to be showing the board and going through some moves. Okay, so round one. Okay, I guess let's back up. So you're playing in the under 2300 section.
that's right. And my rating going into it was, I think, 22-15, somewhere around there. They had a 4 day section and a 3 day section. So those merge after or after the second day.
Hmm.
And the way the sections are set up, they're very large. I don't know exactly how many people, let's say maybe 150 people in my section, maybe 100. But what happens is because my rating was kind of near the top of the section, 22-15, I tend to play people between 2000 and 2100 every single round. So unless I'm going to score like 4 out of 5, I'm probably not going to face another master. It's just the way Swiss pairings work, how you do like top half against bottom half.
Yeah, tough pairings. It's almost like one of those tournaments where you have to win every game and then hope that you get like a good result when you actually play someone your own rating in order to gain points. So not a good tournament to actually gain points, but you were probably of the 150-ish in your section, you were probably like the 10 seed, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere around there. That sounds about right. And I did the math during the event, which is probably a bad idea, but it was like for an average opponent rating of 2050, I think it was maybe 5 points for a win that I could gain, USCF points. A loss would lose me like 13, and a
Oof.
draw was about -5. So I really didn't want to lose any games, but I did, spoiler, end up losing at least one game.
Yeah, that's tough math though. I mean, 2000 rated players are tough. When we were talking last week to Dane, he was rated like 1990 or 1970 or something going into the tournament, but he was like super prepped. He was doing a ton of tactics, a lot of calculation exercises. And when he was talking there, I'm like, man, this is like a nightmare opponent for Matt because it's like a 1900 who's already pushed NM, like he was 2170, I think he said. So you know
Yeah.
he's like underrated. It's like this is not who anyone wants to play right now. Okay, so round one, you get pared down quite a bit. And you're playing what, a 1920, 1950, something like that?
No, he was about 2050, somewhere
Oh,
around there
okay, okay.
in the 2000s. And he was a younger guy, maybe high school. And going into this event, my plan was have fun. I need to tell myself, which sounds silly, have fun and are you having fun? So I said those phrases to myself probably 2 dozen times throughout the course of the tournament,
Nice.
like between games and during games. Like, hey, are you having fun here? Like that's why you're playing chess. You're playing to have fun. And that helped a lot. So as I talk through these games, I'm going to give each game 2 ratings on a 5 point scale. The first rating is how well I played, five being the best, one being the worst, and three is like an average game for myself. And then a fun scale, how much fun did I have? One through five, five being super fun, three being average game, and one being ready to quit the tournament, essentially.
See, I need to do that because every single game I play, regardless of if it's a 1 through 5 for how I played, my fun is always zero. I'm not ever having any fun.
Really?
I'm stressed. I'm freaking out, and so I gotta implement this. But I gotta say, watching your games and hearing Dane talk about it, it really made me want to return. So I am going to get back into OTP chess soon. Okay, so what happened? What happened in round one?
All right. Round one, I got the black pieces. This was Friday night, and it's a 7 round tournament. So when you get black round one, chances are you'll have 4 blacks and 3 whites. And in the past, my record has been way better with white. So starting with black, I was like, it's kind of on the wrong foot, but we'll see what happens. And are we doing screen share for this one, or do you want me to just talk through it?
Is this the one you want me to share?
This was one to show, yeah.
Okay, boom. What do you guys
All
think
right.
of the new layout? Okay, sorry, audio only listeners. We are going to go through the moves though, so feel free to tune into the video or skip ahead about 6 minutes or something like that. All right, so opponent starts d4. We're going knight f6, c4, bang, c5, baby. We're going banco. I like it.
That's right. So I'll try to kind of talk about the positions too as we go, just for the audio only listeners, but
Yep.
obviously it's better with video. So we got the Benko Gambit. He takes, and then I play a6 and he takes again. So this is the Benko Gambit fully accepted where they grab both pawns and you get one pawn back later.
Yep.
And we do have a Benko Gambit course. I'll make a quick plug for that.
Link in the description.
Yes. And he plays this kind of like trendy line where you actually allow the bishop next to your king for white to get captured and you
Hmm.
take back with the king. So white loses castling rights, but the idea is white's going to build a stronghold on the queen side. They're going to put their pawn on a4, maybe plant their knight on b5, and they just want to try to hold that extra pawn and make it very difficult for black. And the plan from the black side is we're going to play for the initiative. We're down a pawn. We're going to pressure white, even if the queen's trade off the board. And the crazy thing in this game was my opponent was super booked up. This is like 17 moves of theory. And afterwards, he was talking to me about like the nuances of his 13th move and how one move was like a little more accurate than the other and all these things. And I'm like, that just blew my mind. I
He's
only knew some ideas in the position.
so he had multiple book options on move 13 in the banco.
Yep.
Oh, that is
Uh,
insane.
okay, so moving ahead a little bit, we're in the kind of a standard looking Benko position. And he fianchettos his king because his king already moved. And then he goes for this stronghold on the light squares. Now, an idea that I had seen in this position before that I thought I would implement here is to put my rook on a6, queen on a8, and rook on b8. So essentially, all the major pieces, put them on the a and the b files, hit the white a and b pawns because I don't have any a and b pawns, and then make white try to figure out what to do. And that's kind of what the idea is in the banko a lot of times. You just really try to target the white pawns and make it difficult for them to find good moves and then slowly improve your position from the black side. Okay, so he goes queen e2, slide my queen over, rook a3, I bring my last rook over, b3, and now I play knight e8. So we're on move number 15. He's still in book, Jesse.
This is insane. Like it doesn't look like it could possibly be in book at this point. Like he predicted your moves even. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, he was in book right until this point on move 16, this next move.
That's crazy.
So I kind of knew this idea, like put these pieces this way. I knew this. I've seen this knight e8 idea, and the idea is if he puts his knight on b5, at some point I want to play knight c7. Not give it up for free, but I want to try to trade that knight for his knight.
Hmm.
So now he plays knight b5. I play rook a5, and there's a threat. Rook takes knight, so he has to react. He finds the only good move, queen a2, that holds everything.
Why
Now
couldn't you
here,
play rook take before?
in this position, he can
Oh,
take
queen
with queen.
takes. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. So then after he moves the queen, here I play a very aggressive move, f5. And I felt like this was just kind of in the nature of the position.
Hmm.
So his pawns are on the light squares in the middle, and I just want to chip away at them and try to bring my queen in. A little stronger, though, might have been knight e5, which is a really common banko idea to try to swap off a pair of knights. Because in the banko, sometimes the knights for black get a little bit cramped, whereas the knight on f3 is a pretty good piece.
Yep,
Okay,
that
so
makes sense.
f5, he takes, and I took with queen. And this was a big decision. Queen takes pawn or g takes f. Queen takes pawn felt more active, right? I'm putting the pressure on white. My queen's pinning that knight to the king. My queen's hitting this b pawn. G takes f. It gives white a free move. And I thought, well, maybe he'll play rook to d1, defending this pawn. And then my king's a little bit exposed, right? The g pawn just moved away. These light squares could become weak. So the only downside that I could think of to queen takes pawn is that he could try to trade queens in this line with queen to d2 coming up. But I'd calculated that I can trade queens and play this endgame down a pawn because I thought I had enough control of the center and his
Okay.
pieces were pretty passive. So he took. I have to take back so he doesn't take me with check. Queen d2. Now we get the queen trade. And now his knight wants to come to c4. So I lock it down with d5. So how do you evaluate this position, Jesse?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. Okay, I do have eval on the screen capture. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't try to, but I see the eval as a slight pull for white. I'm actually surprised it's not more for white, honestly, because this G pawn kind of stinks. No offense. White has the only like double or the only passed pawns here. I guess your D pawn is passed, so maybe not. Um, yeah, so I was a little surprised it wasn't a little more for white, up a pawn, plus kind of pretty advanced pawns. So yeah, I'm seeing like plus point 0.5. What were you thinking in the game was eval here?
I thought I was maybe a little bit better.
Okay.
I liked my position. Equal or a little bit better was what I was thinking. Um, Stockfish says white's up half a pawn. But my thinking in the game was if you look at this knight, look at the squares that it can go to. Covered, 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 covered. No moves. Look at this rook. If it moves back at all, I have rook takes knight utilizing the pin on this pawn.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this bishop. No moves. Look at this knight. No forward aggressive moves.
Yep.
Rook still sitting on h1. Right? So I see all of white's pieces tied down, and I have a plan. I'm going to expand my pawns in the center. So during the game, I really liked this position. I thought it was a good one to play for a win. And I think sometimes players over-evaluate having that extra pawn in the Benko. So that was kind of in my mind too. Like he might be just excited that he's still up a pawn here.
Yep.
So he retreats his knight. And here I do mess up a little bit. I play d4. It's a committal move because his knight can now come back to c4.
Mm-hmm.
An interesting stockfish idea was knight d6, trading off one knight and then creating this weird pawn formation. And now
Oh,
the
knight.
position's equal.
Yeah, knight d6 sounds so wrong to me because we're just pointing out how bad that knight is and how it has nowhere to go, how it's
Yeah,
basically like pinned, and now we're just gonna trade it off and kind of mess up our pawns. That's not a move I would ever play.
no, that was not on my radar at all. So I play d4. He's coming back out, knight e5. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. So I'm trying to put some pressure on him. Knight c4, rook's attack, so I move it. And now here I was starting to get a little bit nervous because he's starting to unwind this position, right? See, notice now how his bishop's more open, his knight's on an outpost. Even his king is posting up, like maybe trying to sneak in here through the light squares.
Hmm.
And I went into some deep thinks here. We're on move 27, and we get a bonus at move 40. So I had about 30 minutes here. My opponent had 15 to make 13 moves. Um, and here I found this really crazy idea, Jesse. I showed this to Presta J at the tournament because we
Hmm.
reviewed all of our games together. Knight d5 was my move,
Yep.
and I was really calculating what if he plays king e4. You see the double question marks? I did add those myself. At first glance, you think, well, knight f2 check. It's just a fork, right?
Yep.
Okay, king takes knight, though. And now, if knight takes h1, he can play like knight to c7. And his king is about to win this pawn. He's got
Yep.
two passers. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you just did a lesson on the exchange sacrifice, Matt. You know, you always try to grab the rook when you don't want to do it. Don't play into this again. So this is why I was thinking extra hard, and this is where takeaways come into play, right? You know you make a common mistake, you see it in a future game, and you got to factor that in. Do you have your eval on still?
Yeah, I do. Want me to take it off?
Can you see the moves?
Yeah. No,
Oh,
yeah, I can see the moves. The chat can't see the moves though.
okay, take it off for a second.
Okay, hold
Knight,
on. Okay, it's gone.
okay, knight of two check, king takes d5, black to move. What do you play here? Chat,
I
you can
know.
answer this too.
I know the answer. They saw the eval go way up earlier. All right, chat. What do you think is the move here?
Yeah, Presta J knows the move. But I was trying so hard to make this line work because it's beautiful. Not rook takes knight. Let's see if someone can get it.
Anyone
Here's a
get it?
hint.
Any takers?
The king does not have a lot of moves for white. Not rook d8. It's a checkmate in two moves. There's another hint. This king is
Inescapable
about to get
checkmate.
mated. Yeah,
Look at the only square the king has right now. The king has one square, other than the square it's on.
right.
All right, Matt, show the answer.
Pawn to e6 check. King takes pawn, and then the knight comes back to check. You don't grab the rook. When I saw this, I was going nuts in my mind, Jesse, because I'm like,
Hmm.
how do I swindle him? How can I bait him into moving his king into the center where I can just checkmate him in the middle of the board like this?
Yeah, that is so
Uh,
sick.
yeah, but he did not play king e4.
Sadly,
He
that did
played,
not happen.
no, he played bishop a5, rook b7. I'm guarding this square. And I'm just going to fast forward this a little bit. I tried to play very direct here and get some activity going, but coming up is a very instructive part. He missed a chance to check me. We talked about it after the game. He said he just didn't really see how strong it was. But what happens coming up? We're equal material, and he makes this super committal decision. He plays knight to e5.
Yep.
Okay, so we got 4 pawns each, guys. Knight to e5. As soon as I saw this move, I got excited because I knew in my mind if I could take that knight off the board and have my pawn up on d2 with his king not being able to touch the pawn, I can not only never lose that position, but it's very difficult for white to play. So I played d2 first. He moves his rook to attack. I snap the knight off. And after he takes back, I play rook d3. This is the ideal position.
Yep.
You guys can't see the eval bar anymore. The crazy thing is, this is, I think, a win for black already with best play, with dead equal material.
Yeah. I can put the eval back on. It's not quite a win, but it basically is. Like if you play the best moves, black is going to end up victorious here. But it's given like negative 1.8. But black has to find the move e6. If they don't find e6, then it's completely lost. But yeah, it's basically win.
Yeah. So e6 only move for white, and that's to free a little room for the king. My opponent played king f4, and I immediately started calculating all these different checkmate possibilities.
Yep.
It's essentially a forced mate coming up in just a couple moves. So I check him with the rook. He goes king g5, and then I play king g7. This king is trapped,
Yep. Shut out.
meaning, yeah, two rook moves and it's checkmate. And it's not easy for white to stop.
Yeah.
He
The only
plays,
way to the only way to stop is basically sack the rook on d2. It's saying.
yeah, which is just insane. That's resigning essentially.
Yeah.
So he plays g4, and it looks like he's slipping out, right?
Yep.
But I play rook e4, and now the threat is if he takes this pawn, I'm going to take here with check. He goes king h4. Then I play g5 check. He goes king h5, and then rook h3 is a checkmate.
Yep.
So it's all forced. He takes the pawn, check. He goes this way. Okay, so he didn't go to that direction. But now I have this quiet move
Yep.
threatening pawn to g5 mate. He tries to block that pawn, and after check here and rook here, it's mate in one.
Yep. Unstoppable.
Unstoppable. So this was a cool example of like trying to play for a win in the end game. We were both sort of in a time scramble around move 40. But I really liked this game. And I think like the fun factor on this one was a 5 out of 5. Like getting
Nice.
one of these mates at the end, plus seeing that other crazy mate in the middle of the
Hmm.
board coming out of a Benko, which is one of my favorite openings to begin with. 5 out of 5 for fun. I think for how well I played this game, though, I would give it a 3. I think it's kind of like average for my playing ability. I didn't talk too much about my mistakes, but like I let him have like a +1 or 1.5 eval a couple points during the game. And I think
Hmm.
that's something where I should try to keep that a little bit closer to equal, like play more precise in the Benko. But yeah, that was round one, the first night, and I was really happy to get that one under my belt.
Yeah, it's nice too that you got a banco. A winning with the banco is always fun, but you got a fun game. You got like a chaotic game where you calculated your opponent, got him into a mating net. Basically, had checkmate on the board at the end of the game. Okay, so tournament starts off with a good win, 1-0. But first, Matt, did you want to do an ad read?
Sure. Uh, so we did not get contacted by the salmon jerky company. I don't know why. So we're 0 for 2 on sponsors now. Liquid Death, fail. Salmon jerky, stale, fail. We now have Spindrift, attempt number 3, sparkling water. So Spindrift, contact us.
Spindrift, yeah. Element, if you're out there, contact us. Anyone contact us. We're looking for sponsors. We're desperate. No, we're kidding.
AG Greens, we're AG Greens.
Yeah, Athletic Greens, come on. Hit us up. We'll read anything. We will read anything for $12. I'm not kidding. We'll read anything.
Coin Coinbase, what's your price on Coinbase?
Coinbase, Coinbase is fine. I mean, it's whatever. Okay, so quick win round one. We can go through the rest of the games too. We're not going to show every line, but who was your round two opponent? Going 1-0, so you must have got paired against a pretty strong opponent.
Yeah, so this guy was about 2100 round two. I was playing the white pieces. We don't have to show this one, but I started D4. He went with kind of a I forget the name of the opening. It's where you go knight f6 and then c5 right away, and I push past to d5.
Benoni.
I'm gonna look on chess.com. I'm gonna cheat.
Okay.
It's this position. Do you see it in the classroom?
Yeah. I guess I don't know what the name of the opening is.
Indian game, pseudo Benko variation. Okay.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a wild position, and both of us were out of book this game and like move number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the position on the board.
Okay.
Um,
It's kind of
this
a
game,
non-opening.
yeah, I was pressing really hard for a win in this game, and I was up like +2. And what happened was I got overconfident. So in
Mm,
my mind, I'm thinking like I'm gonna just blow this guy off the board. He's not getting developed. I have a big attack against his king. I overpressed the position, and then it turned to equal. And it was like a very unclear equal position, like a
mm.
lot of tactics all over the board and holes and weaknesses. He offers me a draw as we're approaching time control. I reject the draw with an equal position according to Stockfish because one of my takeaways was to play more endgames like in the past.
Is that
So
around
I
this
thought to
position?
myself, uh, yep, this is the position.
Yep.
So we had repeated. I'll show, just back up a little. I played queen g4. He goes bishop a6, and I play queen e4. So queen e4 is to double defend this pawn. It's attacked twice, just in case he takes the knight. And then he goes bishop back, opening a discovered attack, and my queen only has one move. But then he repeats again and offers the draw. So the eval here is 0, 0, 0. Um, there is a crazy line. This is still 0,
Mm.
0, 0. Bishop takes g6. And I was kind of bluffing at this line, Jesse, but I didn't quite see how it worked out. But
Wait, what?
essentially, I thought, yeah, go ahead.
How come it doesn't work? Bishop takes. I guess the king. They don't have to take back.
I thought they would take back and then move the king to d8,
Okay, then you get the knight.
but then
That's
this
not.
knight hangs.
Oh, that knight hangs. Okay.
So what I missed is in this position, Stockfish says I can play rook g1,
Ugh, that's a tough move though.
sack the knight, and then queen g8 check, take, take, sack bish, take, move here, take, block,
Oh
take,
come
take,
on. Oh come
take.
on.
And in this position, I'm up plus 1.2.
Give me a break. That's insane. Man,
It's working.
how didn't you see that?
Yeah. I looked at it earlier. That's how I knew that sequence just now, but it's working surprisingly. But yeah, I did not see bishop takes g6 working out. So I went into an endgame trying to play for a win like this. And what happened is if you look at this position, I have an exposed king and 2 loose rooks. My opponent's king, yeah, he's not getting castled, but he's tucked behind all of his pawns, right? This is one of my takeaways from this game is when I have an exposed king without a lot of time on the clock, I tend to make horrific blunders. And this is in classical chess.
Hmm.
Exposed king with no time on the clock. It's very difficult to see all the tactics defending. That happened to me this game. So what I should have done here is played a move like queen d4, and this essentially forces the queen trade. And then this is what the endgame that I was trying to win. I wanted to try to push the b pawn and have the bishop versus knight imbalance, even if I'm going down a pawn after rook takes. So I think I had the right idea. Like I could push this endgame potentially for a win. Um, but the way I played it, I just very quickly blundered after this. He attacks one rook, and then all of a sudden his queen gets in, and now I'm getting super nervous. It's really hard to find good moves. I blunder, and then this is another blunder, and now essentially I'm losing everything. So just in a couple moves, it completely fell apart because we're at move 37 right now, and the bonus time didn't come until move 40.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So
if you take the knight, I mean obviously you're losing the rook, but also that check comes and that's brutal.
yeah, that's what happened in the game.
Ah, shoot.
Just lost the queen.
Sack the
So
exchange or win the rook back, I guess. Probably not either
no,
enough
the
though.
I mean the problem is
Oh,
his
your
other
rook's
rook is
hanging.
coming in super fast. I played it out a couple moves just because this pawn is lingering here,
Hmm.
but he's essentially mating me with queen and rook before I can do anything.
Yep.
Like playing here doesn't help at all. It's a mate and 4.
Yeah, makes
But yeah,
sense.
so this
So
game, fun factor, mm, this is norm. This was a typical game that I would have been pretty annoyed with. I was very close to winning, +2 or +3 in some positions early on, completely blew it and lost in the end. But I would say in the end, I gave it like a 3. So my opponent and I, we analyzed the game after. He's a super nice player. I think he played really well. I didn't mention this, but actually, he was down to 6 minutes on move 13, and I
Whoa,
had 45 minutes.
on
So
move
he outplayed
13?
me with 13. Yeah, he outplayed
Wow.
me with 6 minutes to 45 in a really bad position. He was almost busted. So I just more gave him credit. I know I didn't play very well, but he also did a great job to take his chances. Um, so fun was a 3, playing level was like a 1. Yeah, I maybe a 2. I don't think I played very well this game, even though the opening went super well.
Yeah. Yeah, tough one, but tough opponent, it sounds like.
Oofta, yeah.
Ufta is right. Okay, so round two, you're 1-1. Round three, so you have 7 rounds, right? So what happens round three? I know you kind of got pared down the whole tournament, right?
Yep. So round 3 was another player like in the 2000s. I'm playing black. I started 1G6. He played knight F3 on the first move. And he kind of did this system opening. And I asked him about it after the game. What do you call this opening? Was it like a Kali? And he said he plays the Queen's Indian in reverse. That's his strategy with white. So he
Hmm.
just does Queen's Indian setup. Um, this was a super instructive game because we went from like hanging pawns to isolated queen pawn to winning a pawn to grinding him down in that position. So it was like as smooth a game as possible. And I think my accuracy on chess.com was like 94 or something like that. It was a really high accuracy score too. So
Interesting.
fun factor, I would say like 4. Like it was not as fun as checkmating someone in the middle of the board, but it was the fun of like, yeah, I played a super good game. And I think, skill level or quality of game, I would give it a 5 out of 5. I don't think I can play much better of a game than I did in round 3.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Those types of wins are such good for the confidence too. Like you're not playing your best all the time, but you can still whip out like the GM level game, like the very, very high quality games. And you just
Yeah.
give yourself an extra point in the tournament from playing like a brilliant game without having to outcalculate or rely on some tactic. You just like push that advantage really smoothly. What was the Oh yeah, you said you had black there and your opponent played that weird opening?
Yeah, he did knight F3 and I played G6. And I like that win too because, in the first 10 moves I felt like, oh, I'm kind of in his territory, right? It's his opening.
Yeah.
He plays this system all the time. I'm doing something just completely random with the G6 setup. I didn't really have any book moves prepped, but I think, showing that I could outplay him from that position gave me a lot of confidence for the rest of the tournament. So 2
Yeah.
wins with black, 1 loss with white so far.
Backwards from your previous results, like you were saying. All right,
Yeah.
so round four, you must have had white pieces.
Yep. Round 4 was the white pieces. This game, Jesse, I got completely clobbered. This was my worst game of the tournament. I don't think I was ever better, even though I had the white pieces.
What opening
Like
did you
me,
play?
I hate to say it, but it was a Catalan, and he did like an early bishop check. And I was trying to decide if I want to play the move from the Catalan course, which is black with the knight, or the move that I used to always play, black with the bishop. I played the Catalan course line, black with the knight. And there is a way they can like win your C pawn right away and try to hold on to it.
Hmm.
Nobody has ever really done that to me in Blitz. Like I have very little practice when they hold on to that pawn. That's what he did in the game.
Okay.
And this is one of my takeaways from the tournament too. Like when I play an opening and I feel very uncomfortable right out of the gates, those games tend to go very poorly. Even if I look later and the engine's like, oh yeah, you were just fine for like the next 10 moves when you felt uncomfortable. That was the case in this game. I was fine for like 10 moves after the point where I was unsure what to do. But
Hmm.
in my mind, I was already defeated. I hate this position. I don't want to be in this position. I don't want to be playing this. Meanwhile, I'm trying to tell myself, like, hey, are you having fun? And I'm responding, no, I'm not having fun. Like, down a pawn. I don't know how to get it back. And then I like missed a move of his, which actually wasn't that critical, but in my mind, I thought it was a terrible mistake that I had made.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I really just got in my own head
Yep.
and then made a couple blunders after that, like 10 moves after I was first uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Tough game. That was who was your opponent in that one?
He was actually he was a data scientist from Texas, I want to say.
Okay.
So an adult, probably in his 30s, I would guess.
Okay. Nice to see some adults get some good wins too. That's always good to hear from a 30-plus year old. Both of us.
Yeah, so both losses for two adults so far.
Okay. And with Whitey even.
Yeah, and both with white. That's right.
All right, round five. So you're 2 out of 4. 2 wins with black, 2 losses with white. Feeling probably decent but not great about the tournament.
Yep, that's right. Um, so this was a big round for me. Playing the black pieces, 2 out of 4 against experts. Like I really wanted to try to get a win in here. And I got a Karo Khan from the black side, and he played the exchange variation. And I was thinking, oh no, this is going to be a dry game. It's going to be really hard to press for a win. Maybe we can pull up the board for this one. This will be the last one we show the board on.
Yeah, we got to show the Karo Con. Let's go from, yep, there you go, from your perspective.
All right. So we got the exchange variation,
All normal. I
and
haven't seen this game yet. Nice.
he starts going for some trades. I also initiated some trades too, but he does this knight f1 idea, which is common in the exchange. He's coming to e3, trying to swap knights.
Yep.
I'm looking at the minority attack over here, and then I play f5.
Okay.
So a lot of these moves are 000. Like if you're looking at the engine moves, Jesse, you see how every move is 000.
Yep.
That's what you get sometimes in the exchange variation, but you have to figure out how can I pose my opponent tough questions. That's why I played this move f5 because in my mind I'm thinking, okay, I have this V pawn formation that we've talked about before where I can potentially attack on either flank with that base on the pawn on e6. So that's the idea. He castles, I castle, rook d1, knight
And
a5.
you also like these types of setups as black, like the Dutch sort of setups. We recommend these in like our in our Slav course. We sometimes go into these as well.
Yeah, kind of that Stonewall Dutch pawn
Yeah.
formation.
Yep.
So here, what I'm thinking is, can I try to get some queenside play going first? I have the 2 versus 3 on the queen side. Maybe I can get him to push a pawn, make the other pawn on c3 weak. So that's what I'm trying to get at with knight a5. Like come to c4, play b5, bring this rook over, and start to bring some pressure. Now, interestingly, in this game, oh, so this opponent, he's like 10 years old. This is a kid, really young kid. And
You
going into
buried
the
the lead
game,
there. 10 years old.
sorry, yeah, I forgot to mention this. Going into the game, he says to me, hey, I've seen your video on chess.com with Lula Robs. And I was like, you just saw it or you saw it when it came out? He goes, when it came out. Because I watched chess.com lessons for fun sometimes when I'm bored. I was like, oh, thanks. That's cool that you saw me on there.
You're like, I am so cooked right now. I'm toast.
Yes. But he was a super nice kid. But then, so a funny thing happened here. Next to us was another kid, and the kid was like the lower rated player, and she was playing a master. She offers her opponent a draw. Right after she offers the draw, my opponent says to me, would you like a draw? Like it
Just
triggered
follow.
in his mind. I
Yeah,
should have offered a draw by now in this position where it's been 000.
yeah. Since
And
other
it was
people are
right.
offering draws, I figured we could just have ourselves a draw.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I can't take a draw. I need to try to win more end games, play more end games.
Yeah.
Okay, so going a little further, we reach this position. He plays queen f3, and in my mind, I'm thinking there's no reason to play queen f3 unless he wants a queen trade. And
Hmm.
I'm not sure if this was like the strategy, play for a draw. So I was trying to think, how can I press for a win after the queen trade? And it was to do this minority attack on the queen side. So he plays it, take, rook over. Now, if you look at the engine eval here, it's starting to show an edge for black. Depending on the move, it's like minus zero point 0.1 to minus zero point 0.3. But what white needs to do here is white needs to look for an active plan from his end. He probably should try to move his king, play g4, attack king side. And on the queen side, maybe he should play a3 and be a bit more prophylactic. This is a good takeaway for everyone watching. You don't want to just sit back and play passively in an endgame. Even if you think that you can hold the endgame and just defend everything and draw, which is, I think, what he was planning during the game, it gives your opponent way too many options to press for the win when you're just sitting back and waiting. Okay, so now I'm pushing these pawns. I get all the way up to b4. Now you can start to feel this is a two result game. Like I'm
Yeah.
never going to lose this game. Locked up his two queenside pawns with my one pawn. And then I start to push on the king side. So going back like 20 moves prior, this was kind of my strategy, or 15 moves prior, when I played f5, right? I wanted to be able to attack on both flanks. It ended up playing out, and I really actually did need to attack on both flanks in order to get the win. So he plays his rook there. And then eventually I bring the other rook in, trade on f4. And now the problem for white is these two pawns in the center are both weaknesses. He has no pawns to defend those pawns,
Hmm.
and my rooks can create too many threats. So now I play h5, and this is like almost Zugzwang for white. Because
Very
as soon as
close.
he moves, yeah, as soon as he moves his rook, I push again. And now after rook f3, the idea is I'm going to get one of these two pawns, and his rooks don't have any quick active counterplay. So when I win one of those pawns, he can't easily put his rook on the c file and come get this pawn, for example. Like there's no easy targets for white while I'm picking off his pawns. So trade, and then I come this way. And now he resigned here, actually, which was super early. But
Yeah,
if he
rook
goes rook
f2
f,
seems fine.
then rook d3.
Oh, and then that pawn's losing. That's a resign like a grandmaster resignation right there. That's a good resign.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
I was
surprised he
happy that
didn't
he
play.
resigned that early, but I was super surprised too.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, rook back to d3 is so slick though.
But this was just a cool position because it was like he can't make a productive move. So reaching an end game like that, and that kind of goes back to just play active in the end games, right? Kept pressing him, and eventually I was able to create some weaknesses. And then later on, he did crack in that end game.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, so 3-0 with black. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so we're going into the last day now. So this is going to be Monday. It went through to Monday.
Yep. So Monday
A-
morning, another 10-year-old,
And oh
two in a
wait,
row.
and what round did was it that round? No, it's been yeah, this round where Dane came up to you and told you that he busted a cheater.
Yeah.
So sick.
Yes.
Okay, going into Monday, and if you want to know all about the Chicago cheating scandal, check out episode 21 with Dane Zagar. Crazy story, and he busted a real life, honest to goodness cheater. Okay, so going into round six, day four, that is 3 out of 5, 3 wins with the black pieces, 2 losses with the white pieces. And this is kind of your make or break day. If you lose both your games, it's kind of you're punting a ton of rating. You win both your games, you're probably gaining a little rating and anything in between. So, were you going did you go to bed that night like amped for Monday, ready to play your best or
You know what happened? I looked at the rating calculator and I figured out if I win both games against 2050s, I would lose 2 rating points. So
oh, that's brutal.
I knew at the back of my mind I'm losing points no matter what, but that might have helped me play, more with that carefree attitude.
Okay, what was the rankings for this game? I forgot to ask.
He was also, oh, this player was actually
Oh no,
19.
I meant your 1 through 5 ratings.
Oh, they were all in the 2000 to 2100, except the round two guy was a little over 21.
Sorry, I meant like your fun versus quality of
Oh,
play
the
rankings.
rankings. Sorry,
Sorry.
the rankings.
I had to ask
Okay.
like 5 different ways to make myself
Yeah,
clear.
yeah. Okay, so the last round win, the Carol Khan, I think the quality of the game was like a 4 or 5, and the fun was also like a 4.
Yeah,
So kind of
nice.
up there on both scales, they seem to match. The game I lost round number 4, I would say I still was like a 3 on the fun. I gave him a lot of credit again for that Catalan win, and I just took it as an experience where I needed to learn. Oh, I did. Okay, I did queen sack in that game for a rook and a bishop. Like I was either going down a pawn and getting ground down, or I'm sacking my queen. I went for the queen sack. And I was
Nice.
doing that to try to make it a more interesting game instead of
Yeah,
just like going down easy.
yeah, nice.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
pretty much the fun was matching the playing level, but I was trying to mitigate the really negative emotions when the playing level was really low. Like if I can keep the emotions at a 3 when the playing level is a 1 or a 2, that was kind of my goal at that point. Like try to always be neutral even with a bad game.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, so 10-year-old, round 6, white pieces. I play d4. He goes Slav, and I played a slow Slav setup. And this was another, well, only the second one of the tournament, but the second super smooth game where everything just went right. I got a break in the center, grabbed all the space, had a bunch of kingside threats, and I was able to finish him off with some tactics. Well, okay, I didn't quite finish him off. I had some tactics that got us into an end game. There was a little bit of shakiness in the end game because the clocks were low and I did have an exposed king, but I knew if I could just find the right moves, it was a win, and I was able to convert it. And I don't think I had made any big mistakes in that game. So like the eval chart would have probably just showed climbing the whole way with maybe some little bounces.
Yeah. I mean, I think that could be our third one because that slot or that Caro game we just showed was pretty smooth too.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't think there were really any mistakes in that one. So probably, yeah, the third game where I felt I played kind of above my average level, just a really smooth game.
Yeah. All right, and then going into the final round, you're probably wanting to get out of there, get home, but the last round like makes a big difference for rating. Like you win, you said you lose a couple, like basically break even. If you lose, now all of a sudden you're down like 15 points. It's like a
Hmm.
brutal swing.
Yep. So this guy, he was playing the white pieces. He played 1e4. He showed up late, like 15 minutes late or something to the board.
Ouch.
I actually had like 3 opponents that showed up 10 minutes late or more. I was
Hmm.
really shocked by that. But anyways, it was Carol Khan, exchange variation. He plays the Panov. And on move 5, he plays h3, which is something I've never seen before. And I'm thinking, is this some kind of novelty? Do I need to alter my playing style?
Does he have
The
a
answer
phone
is
in his
no.
lap?
What's that?
Does he have a phone in his lap?
Yeah, his chair is vibrating for some reason. Like no one knows what's going on. Uh, yeah, I was gonna make another joke, but I won't. Not not polite. Um, so I kind of just did the standard plan in the Panov, like pressed him in the same way that we talk about in our Caro Con course. I got to a position that was about -2, so I had the advantage, and I just wasn't quite able to find the accurate moves. It petered out into an endgame where I was up a pawn with just rooks on the board in one knight. And it was like his rooks could keep attacking my pawn, and all I could do was defend it. And I didn't have any way to activate the rooks and sack the pawn. So essentially, it just kind of petered out into a draw. We analyzed after, and like you mentioned, we both said we were super tired by game 7.
Hmm.
Like, we're kind of over this tournament, but I would have really liked to get that win. And I did sense that I was on the verge of winning, but I just didn't have the brain power to calculate well enough to do it.
Yeah, so like a good game where you played well, but when you were like really had to calculate, find some like pretty quiet, weird moves that one just wasn't there for you.
Yeah.
So got a draw round 7, and you finish. What would that be? 4.5 out of 7.
Yep, 4.5 out of 7. In that game, I think it was, kind of like average probably for my play style, for my playing level. And fun factor, I don't even know. It was my quickest game by far. Like we were in and out of there pretty quick. Maybe a 3 on fun, 3 on play level.
Yeah. Nice. Well, it sounds like an okay tournament. Obviously hoping for more, but Not a disaster by any means, and given the fact that you didn't really prep at all and just kind of went in trying to have fun, trying to play as best as you can, I would count that as a win, honestly.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was trying to think about like, what's the range of your play level if you're practicing all the time and feeling like, okay, I did everything possible to prep versus doing absolutely none? What do you think the rating range is between the high and the low?
Ooh, I'd say I'd say it's like a 150, 200 point swing. So if you're playing if you're practicing a lot, if you're very sharp in your openings, calculating a lot, I think you can like maybe play 100 points above your rating, but you can also fall 100 points below your rating if you're like not being disciplined over the board, something like that. Let's say 150 to 200 points at least at my level. What do you think?
Yeah, I was looking at Chess Simple in the chat. I was thinking about a 50-point range for me.
Okay.
I think my very peak is right around 2250 skill level. And I think I played around 2200 for this tournament, like right around where my rating is, maybe
Okay.
10, 15 points lower.
Yeah. That makes sense. I know that your rating now is still over 22. It's like 2205, right?
I think it's 2202.
Okay,
It barely stayed above.
yeah, just hanging on to the NM barrier, like the I don't know the NM gatekeeper, I guess.
Yeah.
So what is lifetime master? How many games do you need to have over 2200?
I believe it's 300 and I don't know how many I have, but I don't play a lot. So I may only have like 40 games or something as a master. It's not
Oh,
a lot.
okay, interesting. 'Cause you have to play a lot over the next like 10 years. That'd be tough.
Yeah. Probably before I get so old that it's like rating just tanks. But I'm trying to mentally prepare. So I'm 38. I'm trying to mentally prepare for we all hit an age where your rating just starts to go down. And I think I could be at that point unless I really want to start dedicating time to improving on my chess. And I don't know if I do. I may just want to keep playing and try to enjoy the game, but not study too hard.
Yeah, I think I still have some time to improve, especially given my rating. So I'm about 1500, little over 1500 over the board. I'm not even sure, but I'm 34, so I'm sure if I really pressed for like the next 6 years, I could get my rating up a bit. I don't even know what I could really realistically get to. I don't know, Matt. What do you think? You kind of know my game, how well I play, what I'm good and bad at. If I like have a really good tournament, I think I can play pretty consistently like 1600 level throughout. What do you think I could like really push to if I dedicated myself for a couple of years?
I think 2000 would be a great goal for
Oh,
you. And then if
wow.
you hit it, then push for, the next level. But I think you could get to 2000.
2000. That'd be cool. It'd take a lot more practice, or I guess a lot more training than I'm currently doing. I'm basically just like playing Blitz for fun and Bullet and not really studying at all. So I'd have to really dedicate myself. And I honestly just don't have the time for it. I love chess, I still do. But with the kids, with working full time, chess goals, the podcast, it just gets on the back burner a bit. But it's always going to be a hobby of mine. I don't think it's going away anytime ever, basically.
Yeah. And I think we're in agreement. We both pretty much put chess goals above our own chess
Yeah.
9 times out of 10. Like we would
Yeah.
just rather do chess goals than study chess.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining today. That is Matt's Chicago Open 2024 finished up last week. The courses that he mentioned, we will link in the description. I think he played the Benko. We have a course for that. He played the Caro. We have a course for that. He played the Catalan. We have a course for that. So we will link all of those in the descriptions. You can try them out for free too if you don't want to do the full course. You can just get the free preview. I think we give you a line in each chapter, something like that. Uh, Underrated course, that Catalan, because it comes with a bunch of sample model games, and Matt
Yeah.
did that one all by himself, so you can see the best moves in the Catalan. Still an opening I love and I'm fond of. Do you have a course for the line that crushed Matt's Catalan? We do actually, but Matt said he hasn't seen it, so he's a little out of book. Is that right?
Uh, that line is in the Catalan course. I just couldn't remember the
Yeah,
theory.
yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If you are in the audio only world, we're sorry for this podcast. We did have some video content, but the video comes with all your podcasts. So if you want to flip it over to video at any time, feel free to do that. And as always, thank you for supporting. Likes and subscribes and ratings go a long way. We are deeply appreciative of that. If you want to watch us live, you can click the link in the description to get updates for live podcasts, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and you will get notified when we go live. So thank you all for joining, and we will see you next week. Next week, we are going to be talking about Norway chess and whatever comes up throughout the week. Thank you, everyone. See ya.
Bye, guys.